Greetings and salutations, friends and gamers of all stripes. My name is GM Dave, and I am your man behind the screen. Welcome to a new series I'm going to be starting, a new mini-series, where we're going to be discussing backgrounds, goals, and motivations for your characters. Now, this series is going to take a slightly different approach to previous discussions on this topic that we've carried, as opposed to looking at the ways to focus your motivations, your backgrounds, your goals, how you can flesh them out, how you can actually create them, make them more interesting, make them more engaging. This time we're going to be looking at the starting points of these things, the core element that drives that initial push that leads your character into the world of adventure, and how those elements can affect your backgrounds, your motivations, and your goals. And lastly, we're going to be looking at ways you can mix and match the four elements I'm going to mention across the whole of your character's history, questing life, and eventual end game result where you finally attain your goals. Now, why are we doing this, and what are the elements we are looking towards? Well, the reason why we're doing this is because there is a long-standing, I guess you could say, tradition of sorts, of players creating characters that are motivated, generally speaking, more often than not, by one of two things. And that is either by a tragedy that occurred in their life, or by the desire to accrue wealth and fame. Among all the different types of motivators, among all the different core starting elements you can use, these two are far and away the most common in my experience. Every single one of us at some point has or probably will create a character who, because of some tragedy, is driven to adventure. Every single one of us has or will at some point create a character whose primary goal and focus in life is to become rich and famous, and they figure they can use the adventuring life to try and strike it rich and feed their wanderlust in the meantime. Well, we're going to be looking at four different potential starting points this time. Starting points that are a little bit different from what you might expect. Starting points that, while they are certainly used, tend not to be utilized nearly as often as tragedy and the pursuit of wealth. These starting points are the sense of duty, faith and conviction, familial love, and romantic love. And we're going to start today with the sense of duty. Now, the sense of duty is really the easiest of these four to work with, and that is because it is so malleable that you can kind of tie it into and fit it into with any other element. The pursuit of wealth can still tie into someone's sense of duty. The tragic backstory can still work in with someone's sense of duty. Familial love, romantic love, faith and conviction, all of these can tie into the sense of duty. So that is probably the greatest strength, that approaching your character by having them be driven into adventure through a sense of duty, a sense of urgency and need based on something beyond themselves. That's the greatest strength that this element has. It is malleable, it can work with any of the other ones very easily. But let's take a look at some of the other advantages it gives. And let's go by looking at what is honestly the easiest and most likely way you're going to see someone explore the sense of duty when they make a character who does so: a soldier. What drives a soldier to become a soldier? Ideally, they feel a sense of duty to their nation. They want to serve their nation, they want to serve their people in some way, and so they enlist in the army, and they figure, if I become a soldier, I can protect our borders, I can protect our people. I'll be putting myself in harm's way, but through my training, through my discipline, I can help save the lives of our nation, of our people. That sense of duty to your nation, that sense of duty to king or queen and country, or whatever else it might be, is core to that type of character. It is the sense of duty that drives them to learn the skills that they have learned. It is the sense of duty that will motivate them going forward. They want to fulfill the duty that they have taken unto themselves. They want to show that they are worthy of this duty that they have undertaken, that they are worth serving their nation, serving their people, or whatever other sense of duty it might be. It doesn't have to be service to the nation. It doesn't have to be service to the people. You could simply be a public official of some kind. You could be a town guardsman, similar to a police officer. You could have signed up with a fire crew. You could be an alchemist who decided to become a plague doctor during a plague because, you know what? This plague is affecting my community. It's affecting my home. People I care for are getting sick and dying. And I have this skill where I can help to curb this. Well, you might feel a duty now to turn that skill towards curbing that, to join with whatever group of plague doctors is already out there, if there is one, or maybe even start a group of plague doctors to help take care of this plague and treat it as best you can. The sense of duty really comes down to a core conviction that the character holds. So figure out, what is that core conviction? Why is it that my character has this sense of duty? What is that core element that drives them to feel like they must do this? Because that's the thing. The sense of duty isn't just something they feel like they want to do. It's something they feel like they have to do. They are duty bound to complete this mission. They are duty bound to serve. They are duty bound to put themselves in harm's way for the sake of others, or to serve the community, or whatever else it might be. That sense of service, that sense of urgency will drive your motivation. That sense of service and why you wanted to get into that in the first place is going to compose your backstory. But what about your goals? How are you going to tie that into your goals? Well, that's the biggest question when it comes to the sense of duty. And you're going to notice as we go through this series, in every episode, there's going to be at least one element that's going to compose a large question for your character. For the sense of duty, it is, how do I develop my goals in line with this sense of duty? The trick? Talk to your game master before the game. Tell them what your plan is, tell them what the idea of your character is, as you should already be doing in your session zeros. And when you do, talk to them about how you can then tie this into their game world. Work out with them what sort of elements there are, what sort of ideas there are that they can then present to you to help you develop a goal that you have in mind. Now, if it's a situation where you don't have a goal in mind, talking to your GM in this way, getting clarification on the world and how your character would then fit in it based on the kind of duty that they're serving, might help you come up with a goal. If you already have a goal in mind, talking with your GM will then help you work out whether or not the goal you have in mind fits with the world the GM is presenting, with the setting and the plot the GM is presenting you. And then once you have that set in your head, once you've figured out whether or not it's going to work or not, and what elements might need to be changed to make it work, all of a sudden now you and your GM have an idea and a plan set out for your character. And most likely with that comes NPCs that are going to tie into them, characters that are going to be important to them, and you will then be able to set up a sensible, reasonable goal, a reasonable mission of a sorts that they will then be put out on to see through, to fulfill, at least in the course of the game, their duty. Now, excuse me. Now, touching back on the idea of the soldier, which is the most common form in which we see this portrayed, one might wonder, in the case of the soldier, how then do we present that sense of duty as a goal? What are some examples we can use? Well, let's consider the following. You have a soldier his goal is to protect the kingdom. Let's say he's stationed as a castle guard. Well, if you're stationed as a castle guard, if your job is to watch the ramparts, stay there, keep watch at night, it's not entirely likely that your king or your general or your direct commander is going to send you out on a quest with some random adventurers. But what if the group of adventurers comes with information about a plot that is going to affect the kingdom? Let's say that's what the overall plot of the game is. There is a dangerous plot that threatens the stability of the kingdom. And your commander calls you over because he happens to be aware that your character knows at least one person in the party. And that's going to be a key trick for someone who has that sense of duty. If they're a soldier who is stationed someplace where they're not really reasonably going to be called on to adventure and leave and explore, build a tie with one of the characters in the party. It's going to make it a lot easier for your GM to justify that. It's going to help things make a lot more sense, too. Plus, you really should be doing this anyway, because it's going to create better interpersonal moments between the characters. So, once you have that set up, figure out what's the relationship these characters have. And then your commander, your king, your general, whoever it is that assigns this mission to you will have a reason to give it to you. Now, let's say it's a loftier position. Let's say perhaps you're a King's Guard. Well, the King's Guard wouldn't reasonably be expected to go out and adventure. They're supposed to protect the king. But maybe the king knows that you are of a certain trustworthy nature. He knows the other adventurers are capable, but maybe he doesn't necessarily trust them. He wants someone he knows he can trust on this team. Someone he knows can keep these people set on main goals, set on that main mission of figuring out what the plot is and rooting out that corruption. So maybe he calls you aside and says, I know that your duty is to be by my side and protect me. But the best way right now for you to protect me is to help them by figuring out that plot. And I want you there because I know I can trust you to keep them in line and to keep them on course. There you go. Your sense of duty has now played into your overarching goal in the game. To see this mission through, to root out the corruption, to protect your king, your country, and whatever else in this particular case. And that is really the ultimate trick. When it comes to setting up your goals with a character who has a sense of duty, especially when that sense of duty requires them to remain in a single place, or has it so that they're expected to go to certain specific places in order to fulfill the work that they wish to fulfill, they are driven to fulfill. Make sure that you work with your GM to find ways to make that work, so that it makes sense that your character would go. After all, you can't reasonably expect a plague doctor who's dealing with a plague in his hometown to up and leave just because some adventurers want him to come along. You can't expect the King's Guard to leave his king's side without the king telling him that he needs to do so. You can't expect the paladin of a church to turn away briefly from whatever holy mission his church has sent him on to adventure with you unless that holy mission ties into your adventure. The sense of duty is just another way that we can take a look at our characters and that we can drive them into the world of adventure with just a little extra thought than what is required for tragedy and the pursuit of wealth. That's about all I have for you today for Force of All Stripes. If you liked this video, please feel free to leave a like, comment below with your thoughts, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification button, and please share it around to friends who you think might find this interesting. Click the description box down below to find my social media accounts. You can find me on Minds, Twitter, Gab, and Facebook, and you can also find all of my videos backed up on BitChute. I highly recommend following me on all of those platforms. Although, if you want to get the most notifications and the most interaction with me directly, Minds.com is by far the best way to do so. And with that now said and done, friends and gamers of all stripes, once again, my name is GM Dave. I am your man behind the screen. Thank you for joining me here today, and remember, when it comes to the world of tabletop gaming, you don't just want to watch, you want to play. Have a great one.